Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. My name is Alexis Monroe, and I am 34 years old. The bracelet felt cold against my wrist, heavier than it should have been. I stared at the diamonds catching the lamp light in our bedroom, each stone winking like a tiny secret I was not supposed to know. My husband, Jerome Grant, had clasped it around my wrist just an hour earlier, his smile too wide, his hands trembling slightly as he fumbled with the catch. He said, "Happy anniversary, baby. Nothing but the best for you. 7 years of marriage, and this was the most expensive gift he had ever given me." The jewelry box had carried a small printed card, appraised at $100,000. Who spent that kind of money on a bracelet? We were comfortable, yes. Jerome's importing business did well, but not throw away $100,000 on jewelry well. Something about it had felt wrong from the moment he slipped that velvet box onto the table at the restaurant. Now I sat on the edge of our bed in our house just outside Chicago, still in my blue anniversary dress, and that uneasy feeling had grown into something I could not ignore. The diamonds sparkled, beautiful and strange, and I could not shake the nagging thought that they did not belong to me. Maybe they never had. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. I picked it up, expecting a text from my best friend, Rochelle, asking how dinner went. Instead, an unknown number glowed on the screen. The message said, "Get rid of that bracelet tonight. Do not ask questions. Do not tell Jerome. If you value your freedom, throw it away now or you will regret it." My hands went numb. I read the message 3 times, my heart beating faster with every pass. Nothing about it felt like a joke. The tone was too urgent, too specific. Someone knew about the bracelet. Someone knew Jerome had given it to me tonight. I looked toward the bathroom, where I could hear the shower running. Jerome was singing, something he only did when he was nervous or trying to convince himself everything was fine. The sound made my skin tighten. Who was texting me? How did they know what I was wearing? My thumb hovered over the keyboard, ready to respond, ready to demand answers. But the message had said, "Do not ask questions." It had said, "Throw it away." It had said, "You will regret it." I thought about flushing it down the toilet, but the stones were too large. The thing felt like a small weapon in my hand. I imagined trying to bury it in the kitchen trash, but what if Jerome noticed it missing? He had given it to me with so much ceremony, insisting I never take it off, telling me it was a symbol of his love and commitment. At the restaurant, that had sounded sweet. Now those words felt like a trap tightening around my wrist. The shower shut off with a squeak of pipes. I had maybe 5 minutes before Jerome came back into the bedroom. 5 minutes to decide what to do with the glittering band that suddenly felt like a shackle. My mind raced. I could not just throw it away. That would raise questions I was not ready to answer. Jerome would ask where it was, his temper flaring behind his polite smile. But that text, that warning, twisted my stomach into knots. Someone out there knew something I did not, and was either trying to help me or trying to set me up. The bathroom door opened and Jerome stepped out in his robe, his brown skin damp, his smile a little too controlled. His eyes dropped straight to my wrist. "You are still wearing it?" he asked. He did not wait for an answer. "Good. Do not take it off, okay? I want you to wear it all the time. It is beautiful." I forced my voice to sound steady. "It is beautiful," I agreed, though my throat felt tight. "Jerome, this is too much. Where did you even get this kind of money?" His smile faltered for a fraction of a second. "Business has been good. Real good," he said quickly. "I wanted to do something special for you. You deserve it, Lex." He crossed the room and sat beside me, taking my hand in his. The bracelet caught the light again, and I saw something flicker in his eyes. Fear, guilt, calculation, I could not tell. I pulled my hand back gently. "I am going to take a bath," I said. "It has been a long day." Relief swept over his face so fast I almost missed it. "Yeah, okay. I will be in the living room," he replied. I locked the bathroom door behind me and sat on the closed toilet lid, staring at the bracelet. The anonymous text had said to get rid of it tonight. But how and why? I tried to breathe slowly, to think. Then I remembered. In the morning, Jerome's older sister, Denise, was coming over for coffee. Denise loved jewelry. She commented on earrings, rings, watches, anything with sparkle. She and Jerome had been tense lately, something about the family business, some argument I had not been allowed to hear. A terrible idea slipped into my mind and refused to leave. If I gave the bracelet to Denise, it would be gone from my possession without technically being destroyed. If something was wrong with it, if it was stolen or tied to whatever danger that text hinted at, it would no longer be on me. It was cruel. I knew that even as the plan formed. But the fear crawling up my spine was stronger than my guilt. I unclasped the bracelet, fingers trembling, and folded it into my makeup bag beneath compacts and brushes. Then I turned on the bath and splashed water on my face until the mirror steamed. When I came out 20 minutes later, Jerome was asleep on the couch, the television playing some late-night comedy he was not actually watching. I slipped into bed alone, the anonymous warning still burning behind my eyes. It repeated itself in my thoughts. Get rid of it or you will regret it. The next morning I woke before Jerome. The Chicago sky outside our window was pale and gray, snow threatening but not yet falling. I dressed quickly in a green blouse and jeans, sliding the bracelet back onto my wrist before Jerome woke. He shuffled into the kitchen, kissed my forehead, and said he needed to get to the office early. Wear the bracelet, okay? He reminded me. It looks perfect on you. I smiled and nodded, pretending normalcy, and watched him drive away. At exactly 9 o'clock, Denise pulled into the driveway, wearing a yellow sweater that made her warm brown skin glow. She hugged me at the door. Morning, little sister, she said. How was the anniversary? It was good, I answered as I led her into the kitchen. Actually, Jerome gave me something. Something really expensive. Denise raised an eyebrow. Let me see. I held out my wrist. Her eyes widened. Alexis, that is gorgeous. He really went all out. I forced a small laugh. Too much. It makes me uncomfortable, honestly. It is too flashy for me. But I know you love this kind of thing. Her eyes narrowed slightly. What are you saying? I unclasped the bracelet, heart pounding. I want you to have it. Denise pulled her hand back. I cannot take that. It is from your husband. It is your anniversary gift. Please, I said quietly. I would feel better if you had it. Really. It suits you more than me. I pressed the bracelet into her palm. She turned it over, examining the stones, looking between my face and the diamonds as if trying to read what I was not saying. Are you sure? She asked finally. Jerome will not be upset? I swallowed. I will handle Jerome, I said, my stomach churning. Take it. Wear it. Enjoy it. Slowly, Denise slipped the bracelet onto her wrist. If you are sure, she said. Thank you, Alexis. This is incredible. We drank coffee and ate pastries, chatting about work and family. I pretended everything was normal while my gaze kept flicking to the bracelet on her wrist, flashing when she gestured. Guilt gnawed at me, but fear sat heavier. An hour later, she gathered her things. At the door, she waved, the bracelet catching the thin winter sunlight. I closed the door behind her and leaned against it, relief and shame mixing low in my chest. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. The message read, "Smart move. But you are not safe yet. Watch the news tomorrow morning. And whatever you do, do not trust Jerome." I stared at the words until they blurred. What had I just done? What had Jerome dragged me into? And who was sending these messages, watching my life from somewhere I could not see? The next morning, I sat on the couch with a mug of coffee, hands shaking as I turned on the local news. The headline at the bottom of the screen made my blood run cold. Local woman arrested in connection with jewelry theft ring. A reporter's voice cut in. Chicago resident Denise Grant was taken into custody this morning after police discovered stolen property in her possession, including a diamond bracelet worth over $100,000. The coffee mug slipped from my fingers and shattered on the hardwood floor. Denise's face filled the screen, eyes wide with confusion as officers led her toward a police car in handcuffs. The bracelet Jerome had given me, glittered on her wrist in the footage. My phone rang. I answered on reflex. Jerome's voice exploded through the line. Alexis, have you seen the news? What the hell happened? Why does Denise have your bracelet? My throat locked. I could not speak. I could barely breathe. I had given her stolen property, and now she was in handcuffs because of me. Alexis, answer me, Jerome demanded. Why did you give Denise that bracelet? The anonymous text replayed in my mind. Get rid of it or you will regret it. I had gotten rid of it, but regret pressed down on my chest like a weight. I need to go, I whispered. Alexis, wait. I hung up and, with shaking hands, dialed Rochelle. She answered on the second ring. Lex? What is wrong? Turn on the news, I choked out. Channel 7. Then come over. Please. By the time she arrived 15 minutes later, I was still sitting on the floor surrounded by broken ceramic and spilled coffee. the television replaying the footage of Denise's arrest on a loop. Rochelle knelt and wrapped her arms around me. "Tell me everything," she said quietly. Once I could breathe again, I did. I told her about the bracelet, about Jerome's nervous smile, about the text that told me to get rid of it. I told her about my plan, about giving it to Denise, about the second text warning me not to trust Jerome. With each detail, Rochelle's expression grew tighter. "You got set up," she said finally. "Either you did or Denise did. Or both of you." I wiped my face with the back of my hand. I did not know it was stolen. The text said to get rid of it. I thought if I gave it away, I would be safe. Rochelle frowned. "Safe from what? Who would send you those texts? Who would know Jerome gave you that bracelet the same night he gave it to you?" The question hung in the air. I had been so focused on escaping the bracelet that I had not allowed myself to consider who might be behind the warnings. Whoever it was knew Jerome's movements, knew our anniversary, knew where that jewelry was supposed to go. My phone buzzed again on the coffee table. Another unknown number. Rochelle grabbed it before I could. She read aloud. "Jerome is in deeper than you think. His business partner, Sasha, runs the operation. The bracelet was supposed to go to a buyer in Miami. Jerome gave it to you by mistake. They have been scrambling ever since." Rochelle's eyes widened. "Who is this?" she muttered, then typed quickly. "How do you know all of this?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. The reply came. "Someone who got out before it was too late. Trust me. Check Jerome's office at home. Bottom desk drawer, false bottom. You will find everything you need." The message ended there. No name. No further explanation. Rochelle met my eyes. "Do you know where his home office is?" she asked. "Of course," I said. Jerome had converted a small room at the back of the house into an office when we first moved in. He locked it whenever he was not there. "Do you have a key?" Rochelle asked. I did. Jerome had given me 1 year ago, back when he still pretended I was part of his world. I had never used it. The idea of going in there now, of going through his things, made me feel both sick and strangely steady. "We have to see," Rochelle said. "Denise is in jail because of that bracelet. Because of him. We cannot just sit here and wait." I nodded, wiped my face, and retrieved the key from the top drawer of my nightstand. Every step down the hallway felt like walking deeper into a life I had never really understood. Jerome's office smelled faintly of cologne and printer ink. The blinds were drawn, the desk neat, the computer asleep on the screensaver. Family pictures lined one shelf. Our wedding, a beach trip to Florida, a holiday party where Jerome's smile looked a little too sharp. Rochelle went straight to the desk and pulled open the bottom drawer. It was full of file folders, old contracts, and envelopes. She tapped the bottom panel with her knuckles. A hollow sound answered. "There," she said. She emptied the drawer, then ran her fingers along the edges until something clicked. The false bottom lifted, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside were 3 USB drives, several bound folders stuffed with papers, and a cheap flip phone. My stomach dropped. This was no misunderstanding. This was organized. Rochelle flipped through the folders, eyes skimming rapidly. "Shipping manifests," she murmured. "Invoices, photos of jewelry, watches, art pieces, notes in his handwriting. Prices, dates, initials." She looked up at me. "Alexis, he has been doing this for years." I picked up the flip phone and turned it on. It buzzed to life, its screen filled with text threads. Most were from an unsaved number labeled only S. Messages referenced packages, deliveries, Miami buyers, insurance, and silent partners. My gaze caught on a message from 3 days earlier. "The wife does not know anything. I will give her the Miami piece tomorrow. Anniversary gift. She will never suspect." I read it twice, my vision tunneling. The bracelet. Jerome had used our anniversary to move stolen property. He had given me evidence, wrapped in velvet and romance. I scrolled further back. The tone of the messages between Jerome and S shifted. Business terms turned flirtatious. Plans for shipments were woven with plans for hotel rooms. Complaints about me, about our marriage, were answered with promises of a future together. "He is having an affair," I said, my voice hollow. "With Sasha, his business partner." Rochelle took the phone from my trembling hands and read silently, her jaw tightening. "I am so sorry, Lex," she said. I felt strangely calm as a cold anger settled into my bones. Jerome had not just lied about the bracelet. He had put me in danger, framed his sister, and betrayed our marriage in the most calculated way possible. "We need copies of everything," I said. "Photos, documents, texts. All of it." Rochelle pulled out her own phone and began taking pictures of every page, every screen. I woke Jerome's computer, guessed his password on the second try, our wedding date, and opened his email. Encrypted messages, cloud storage folders, spreadsheets of accounts I had never heard of stared back at me. There were transfers out of our joint savings into accounts in Jerome's name only, then from there into overseas banks. Money that should have been ours had been siphoned away for years. I downloaded everything I could onto one of the USB drives, then closed the files and reassembled the office exactly as we had found it. The false bottom clicked back into place. The drawer slid shut. If Jerome checked, he would not see any obvious disturbance. My phone rang in the hallway. Jerome again. I let it buzz twice before answering. Alexis, where are you? I have been calling all morning, he said, breathless. I have been at home, I replied, my voice steady now. Dealing with the fact that your sister is in jail. He did not even pause. That is not my fault, he said quickly. I do not know how she got that bracelet. Did you give it to her? The lie came too easily. He had rehearsed it. Yes, I said. I gave it to her. It was too expensive, and I thought she would appreciate it more. Silence stretched down the line. Then softly, Jerome said, Alexis, you should not have done that. That bracelet was for you. Where did it come from, Jerome? I asked. How could we afford something like that? I told you, business has been good, he snapped. Look, I am coming home. We need to talk. No, I said. I am leaving. I am staying with Rochelle for a few days. I need space. Alexis, do not do this. Just wait for me to. I hung up and turned off my phone. Rochelle was already in the bedroom, pulling a suitcase from the closet. Pack what you need, she said. We are not staying here tonight. As she folded clothes into the suitcase, she added, We are going to fix this. We are going to get Denise out. And we are going to make sure Jerome pays for what he has done. At Rochelle's apartment on the north side, I bought a temporary phone from a convenience store, not wanting Jerome to track my usual number or our location. That night, as I lay awake on her lumpy guest bed, the burner phone buzzed. Another unknown number. You did the right thing, the text read. Now go to the police. Tell them everything. They will believe you if you have evidence. But move fast. Jerome knows something is wrong. I stared at the ceiling. Whoever this was had warned me about the bracelet, told me where to find the evidence, and now was pushing me toward the authorities. Who are you? I typed back. The response came quickly. Someone who made the same mistakes you almost did. Someone who got out before it was too late. Save yourself, Alexis. Do not let him drag you down with him. The messages stopped after that, no matter how many times I replied. The next morning, Rochelle drove me to the police station downtown. The building smelled like coffee and disinfectant. I sat in a small interview room with Rochelle on one side of me and a detective on the other. Detective Carla Morrison was in her 40s, with tired eyes and a calm, steady voice. Ms. Monroe, she said, opening a notebook. You said you have information about the stolen bracelet found in Denise Grant's possession. I placed the USB drive on the table between us. My husband gave me that bracelet 3 nights ago, I said. That same night, I received anonymous texts warning me to get rid of it. I gave it to Denise the next morning. I did not know it was stolen. After she was arrested, I received more texts telling me to check my husband's office. And what is on this drive? Detective Morrison asked. Evidence, I answered. Documents showing a smuggling operation run by my husband, Jerome Grant, and his business partner, Sasha Reeves. Financial records, shipping manifests, texts about stolen property. Everything you need to prove Denise is innocent and my husband is guilty. The detective plugged the drive into her laptop and began scrolling. Her expression tightened as she read. Ms. Monroe, she said finally, if what I am seeing here holds up, your husband and Ms. Reeves are facing serious federal charges. Are you prepared for what that means? I met her gaze. Yes. I want him prosecuted. I want Denise released. And I want a divorce. Over the next week, everything moved in sharp bursts. The police verified the documents. Federal investigators were looped in as they realized Jerome's operation crossed state lines. Jerome and Sasha were questioned, then arrested. Their faces appeared on the news, their mugshots replacing Denise's. Denise was released, all charges dropped. She came to Rochelle's apartment the day she got out, her eyes still red from crying. Alexis, I am so sorry, she said as soon as she stepped inside. I had no idea. When Jerome gave you that bracelet, I should have known something was wrong. I hugged her tightly. This is not your fault, I said. He used both of us. A few days later, I sat in the office of an attorney named Lisa Howard, a sharp, composed woman with a reputation for handling financial fraud and divorce. She spread out copies of the documents I had given the police. Your husband has been siphoning off marital assets for at least 3 years, Lisa said. The accounts tied to these transfers should legally be half yours, but he hid them. We can recover that money, but it will take time and aggressive legal action. How much are we talking about? I asked. Conservatively, $2 million, she replied. The number hit me like a physical blow. Money that should have secured our future had been turned into fuel for Jerome's crimes and his affair. I want every penny back, I said. And I want him held accountable for what he did to Denise. Lisa moved fast. We filed for divorce and requested an emergency freeze on all of Jerome's accounts. Because of the criminal investigation, the court granted it. Jerome could not move any money or sell any assets without approval. He called my old number from jail multiple times. I let every call go to voicemail. Once, out of morbid curiosity, I listened for a few seconds. His voice was desperate, pleading, full of excuses. I deleted the message and blocked the number. The anonymous text stopped after I went to the police. Whoever had been guiding me from the shadows seemed satisfied that I had taken control. I never found out who they were, but I felt a strange, steady gratitude for them. Months unfolded in a blur of court dates and interviews. Investigators pieced together the full scope of Jerome and Sasha's smuggling ring. Denise and I met regularly, supporting each other through the chaos. I enrolled in online classes to finish the business degree I had abandoned when Jerome convinced me I did not need it. I saw that for what it had been, another way to keep me helpless. Rochelle sat with me at night at her kitchen table as I read textbooks and highlighted case studies. You are rebuilding, she said one night. Not just your bank account, your whole life. Lisa hired a forensic accountant, Dr. Yvonne Porter, to dig deeper into Jerome's financial history. 3 weeks later, we sat in Lisa's office while Dr. Porter presented her findings. He has been siphoning money since before you were married, she said, scrolling through a timeline on her laptop. Small amounts at first, then larger sums after the smuggling began. In total, I have identified approximately $3.2 million in hidden assets. My jaw clenched. Can we recover it? I asked. Most of it, Dr. Porter said. Some was spent on the operation and on personal expenses, but the bulk is sitting in offshore accounts. With court orders, we can reach it. The hearing that followed was brutal. Jerome, in an orange jumpsuit, sat beside his slick attorney, who argued that many of the accounts were tied to Jerome's business and not marital property. Lisa dismantled those arguments one by one, pointing to transfers made on anniversaries, holidays, and vacations. She showed records of deposits into accounts in Sasha's name. She made it clear that Jerome's deception was deliberate and long-term. Judge Andrea Collins leaned forward, her voice cutting through the courtroom. Mr. Grant, the evidence shows a sustained pattern of financial abuse and fraud, she said. You hid assets, used them for criminal purposes, and now attempt to claim them as separate property. I find this behavior reprehensible. Judge Collins turned to Lisa. I am granting Ms. Monroe's motion for full asset recovery. All hidden accounts are to be included in the marital estate. Funds will be divided according to the divorce decree. 75% to Ms. Monroe, 25% to Mr. Grant. Mr. Grant will also pay the full cost of the forensic audit. Jerome's attorney stood. Your Honor, we would like to appeal. Denied, Judge Collins said firmly. This matter is closed. Outside the courtroom, Lisa squeezed my shoulder. You did it, she said. We did it, I corrected. I could not have done this without you. Jerome did not stop trying to make my life harder. Even from prison, he filed motions complaining about spousal support and payment schedules, claiming hardship. Each motion required a response. Each response meant more paperwork, more time. One afternoon, Lisa called and asked if I wanted to address the court directly. You do not have to, she said. But it might help close this door. I thought about it, then agreed. At the next hearing, I stood when Judge Collins invited me to speak. Your Honor, I said, my ex-husband keeps filing motions because he believes if this process is painful enough, I will back down. But every dollar he hid represents a lie he told. I will pursue the recovery of these assets until the last payment is made. I am not giving up. The courtroom fell quiet. Judge Collins looked at Jerome's attorney. Your client will adhere to the payment schedule, she said. If he continues to file frivolous motions, I will hold him in contempt. 2 weeks later, the first large transfer hit my account. I stared at my bank statement, the numbers surreal. That night Denise came over with takeout, and we sat on my small rented couch at Rochelle's place, eating noodles and watching a movie. "You are free," she said quietly. "Not completely," I replied. "But closer." "Closer counts," Denise said. "You fought for this. You won." As the legal noise slowly faded into the background, I focused more on my classes. It felt strange and wonderful to raise my hand in a classroom again, to write papers on strategy and organizational behavior instead of reading legal briefs. One of my professors, Dr. Angela Pierce, called me into her office after a midterm. "Your work is excellent," she said. "Have you considered graduate school? An MBA?" The idea startled me. "I do not know if I can afford it," I admitted. "There are scholarships," she said. "And with your story, your resilience, you would be a compelling candidate." That word, compelling, echoed in my mind on the drive home. For years, Jerome had told me I was ordinary, replaceable. Hearing someone call my life compelling felt like reclaiming something he had stolen. When the divorce was finally and fully settled and all remaining funds were transferred, Lisa called me. "It is over," she said. "He has no more legal grounds to contest anything." I sat on the edge of my new bed, an inexpensive one in a small apartment I was renting on my own, and let the words sink in. Over. That night, I opened my laptop and began to write. I started with the bracelet, with the cold weight against my wrist. I wrote about the anonymous texts, Denise's arrest, the search through Jerome's office. I wrote about the smuggling ring, the affair, the court battles. The pages filled faster than I expected. When I finished, I sent the document to Dr. Pierce with a simple message. "Would you read this?" We met in her office 2 days later. She read quietly as I sat across from her, twisting my fingers together in my lap. When she finished, she looked up. "This is powerful," she said. "Have you thought about sharing it publicly?" Fear surged. "I do not know if I am ready for that," I said. "Maybe not all at once," she replied. "But even as a blog, as a series of essays, your experience could help a lot of people." That evening, I created a simple website and posted my story under the title, The Bracelet. I did not tell Jerome's side or mention his full name. I focused on financial abuse, on hidden accounts, on the importance of paying attention. Then I waited, unsure if anyone would ever read it. At first, nothing happened. Then Dr. Pierce shared the link with her network. A colleague shared it on social media. Within a week, I had comments from women across the country. One wrote, "I have been married for 12 years. My husband controls all the money. I do not even know our account numbers. Reading your story made me realize this is not normal." Another wrote, "Thank you for putting words to what I have been feeling." I responded to every message, sharing links to resources, encouraging people to talk to trusted friends and professionals. Slowly, the blog became more than my story. It became a small community of people trying to understand their own. The more I wrote, the clearer my purpose became. I started posting practical articles about separate accounts, credit scores, documentation, and what to gather before leaving a controlling relationship. Lisa contributed a guest post about protecting oneself legally during divorce. Dr. Porter wrote about hidden assets and forensic accounting. A local shelter reached out and asked if I would teach a basic financial literacy class for their residents. I was terrified and honored at the same time. I designed a simple workshop: how to open an account, how to build credit, how to budget. On the first day, 15 women sat in plastic chairs in a small room, notebooks in their hands. One of them, a young mother named Shauna, told me during a break, "I left with my kids and a duffel bag. I did not even have my own debit card. I thought I would never be able to stand on my own 2 feet." We spent an extra half hour together after class going through her numbers, setting up a simple plan. 3 months later, she came back to tell me she had her own account, a job, and a small emergency fund started. She hugged me so tightly I could hardly breathe. "You gave me hope," she said. "I thought I was stuck forever." I shook my head. "You freed yourself," I told her. "I just handed you a flashlight." The university recognized my work. I was nominated for an Outstanding Student Award that came with a scholarship toward graduate school. At the ceremony, I stood at a podium in a green dress, looking out at faces that had become familiar: Rochelle, Denise, Dr. Pierce, Lisa. "A year ago," I said into the microphone, "I thought my life was over. I discovered betrayals that shattered everything I believed about my marriage, my finances, my future. But what I gained was more valuable than anything I lost. I gained myself. I gained a purpose. Afterward, a woman from a local nonprofit introduced herself as Grace Holloway, director of the Chicago Community Advocacy Network. I have been following your blog, she said. We want to build a financial advocacy program for survivors. I would like to offer you a position. I researched the organization carefully, then accepted. My title was Financial Advocacy Coordinator. I was given a small office with a window overlooking a courtyard and a stack of files of clients who needed help. I built a curriculum that covered everything from budgeting to long-term planning, from spotting financial red flags to rebuilding after abuse. The first workshop series had 5 participants. By the end of the 6 weeks, all 5 had opened personal accounts, created budgets, and drafted financial safety plans. Grace was thrilled. We need to expand this, she said. Can you train more staff? My days filled with sessions, workshops, and one-on-one consultations. At night, I worked on applications for MBA programs, using my story and my new work as the backbone of my personal statement. The blog continued to grow. A local newspaper ran a feature titled From Betrayal to Advocacy, highlighting my journey and the program at the nonprofit. The article brought more traffic, more messages, more people asking for help. A small publisher reached out and asked if I would consider turning my blog into a book. Writing a book felt enormous and impossible, but the editor's words stuck with me. There are people who need this information in one place on paper in their hands. I agreed, and over 6 intense months, I shaped my story and my lessons into chapters. When the book launched, we hosted a signing at a bookstore downtown. Women lined up to have their copies signed, some with tears in their eyes. Your story helped me leave, one whispered. Your checklist helped my sister, another said. I bought a small bungalow on the city's southwest side, the first home that was entirely mine. It had hardwood floors, a narrow kitchen, and a tiny yard with a struggling maple tree. Denise and Rochelle helped me move, hauling boxes, laughing as we argued about where to put the couch. We ate pizza on the floor that night, surrounded by cartons and the smell of fresh paint. To new beginnings, Denise said, raising a paper cup of soda. To peace and quiet, Rochelle added. To home, I said. For the first time, the word felt like it belonged to me. The community advocacy program grew quickly. Grace secured grants, and we began training advocates in other cities via video conferences and weekend workshops. Our materials spread farther than we expected. A television producer called one day, asking if I would share my story on a national news program. I hesitated, worried about the attention, but Grace said, "Think of the people who will hear you for the first time." I agreed. The segment aired on a Sunday evening, compressing years of pain and rebuilding into 12 minutes. The response was immediate. Donations poured into the nonprofit. People wrote from across the country, asking how to replicate our program. Grace looked at me across her desk and said, "You did not just build a program, Alexis. You started a movement." Around the same time, I began working with a high school social studies teacher named Damon Hill, who had been pushing for financial literacy education in his district. Together, we created a workshop series for juniors and seniors about budgeting, credit, and recognizing financial control in relationships. Damon was tall, patient, and had an easy way of talking to teenagers that made them listen. After our final session, as students filed out of the auditorium, one boy stayed behind and said, "I never thought this stuff mattered. Now I get why my mom struggles." Damon and I went out for coffee afterward to celebrate. The conversation flowed easily, from teaching to family to the strange way life sometimes forced you to start over. "I am not looking for anything serious," I said at one point, feeling the need to be honest. "My life is very full, and I am careful now." Damon nodded. "I respect that," he said. "I am a single father, remember? My life is full, too. I just enjoy talking to you." Coffee turned into occasional dinners, then into helping his 10-year-old daughter, Lena, with a school project. There was no pressure, no rush. Just steady companionship. Rochelle teased me, saying, "You know you are basically dating, right?" I smiled and said, "We are friends." But I knew something gentle and real was growing there, and for the first time in a long time, that did not scare me. My MBA program started in the fall. I juggled classes, nonprofit work, writing deadlines, and speaking invitations. It was exhausting, but every piece of it felt connected to the life I had chosen, not the life Jerome had chosen for me. The state legislature eventually invited me to testify at a hearing on a bill to require financial literacy in all public high schools. I sat at a long table, my written remarks in front of me, cameras pointed toward the committee. My name is Alexis Monroe. I began, and financial literacy education helped save my life. I told them about hidden accounts, about the bracelet, about how not understanding our finances had left me vulnerable. I explained how education and support had allowed me to rebuild. When the bill passed, I sat in my car after the news alert came through and cried, not out of sadness, but from the strange relief of watching something good grow from something awful. A year later, at our nonprofit's annual gala, Grace announced that our financial advocacy model was being adopted by partner organizations in more than 20 states. She promoted me to director of financial advocacy programs, a title that sounded impossibly distant from the woman who had once sat on a bedroom floor, shaking with fear over a stolen bracelet. After her announcement, I stepped up to the microphone in a red dress and looked out at the crowd. Rochelle and Denise at one table, Dr. Pierce and Lisa at another, Damon and Lena near the front. 3 years ago, I said, my husband gave me a bracelet he said was a symbol of love. It turned out to be stolen, and it nearly destroyed my life. But what it really did was force me to confront the truth and choose myself. Tonight, I stand here because of that choice and because of the people who helped me make it. As the room applauded, I saw a young woman near the back wipe tears from her eyes. Later, she approached me in the hallway. Ms. Monroe, she said, her voice trembling, I read your book last year. It gave me the courage to leave my husband. I am working now, I have my own account, and I am finishing school. I came tonight because I wanted to thank you in person. I hugged her, feeling once again that strange mixture of responsibility and grace. You did the hardest part, I told her. You left. You built this. But I am honored my words helped you. That Thanksgiving, I hosted dinner at my house. Denise and her husband arrived first, carrying collard greens and cornbread. Rochelle came with sweet potato pie. Damon and Lena came later, bringing mashed potatoes and a board game. We crowded around my small dining table, talking over each other, passing dishes, laughing when Lena declared my turkey better than my dad's attempt last year. Halfway through the meal, I stood and cleared my throat. I want to say something, I told them. The room quieted. 3 years ago, my life fell apart. I discovered my husband had lied to me about our money, our marriage, everything. It was the worst season of my life. But it also forced me to become someone I might never have become otherwise. I looked around the table at the faces of the people who had held me together when I was falling apart. I am grateful, I said. Not for the betrayal itself, but for the chance it gave me to rebuild. To find purpose. To find all of you. Thank you for being my family. Denise raised her glass. To Alexis, she said. To new beginnings, Rochelle added. To courage, Damon said, his eyes steady on mine. We clinked our glasses together. In that moment, I felt something settle inside me, a quiet certainty that whatever came next, I could face it. Later that night, after everyone had gone and the house was quiet, I stepped out onto my small front porch with a mug of tea. The neighborhood was calm, porch lights glowing, distant laughter drifting across the street. Somewhere, miles away, Jerome was still in prison, serving out the sentence he had earned. Sasha was too, rebuilding her life in whatever way she could. They were part of my story, but they were no longer at the center of it. I thought about the anonymous texts that had started it all, the stranger who had pushed me toward the truth. I would probably never know who had typed those words. I set my mug down on the railing and wrapped my arms around myself, not from cold but from a quiet, almost reverent kind of peace. The bracelet that had nearly ruined everything was long gone, destroyed as part of the federal case. But its impact remained, not as a wound, but as a scar that reminded me of how far I had come. Jerome had tried to trap me with stolen diamonds and sweet words. Instead, he had given me the catalyst to claim my own life. I was Alexis Monroe, daughter, sister, friend, director, advocate, survivor. I was whole on my own. Everything else was just extra. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.